Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day you've given us. I thank you for allowing us to be here in this place. I ask, Father, for your wisdom in all the conversations that we're having, the guidance through these conversations. Let us make the right decisions, Father, to continue furthering the city, the vision that you have set forth for each and every one of us. We just ask special prayer for everything going on in the Middle East and just put a hedge of protection around them and make the right decisions in what they're dealing with over there. We thank you and love you. Amen. Okay, moving on to, excuse me, approval of agenda. I believe we have two items being pulled, which is our presentation for Helen Putman and pulling item number 3 on closed session with conference with labor negotiators, just to confirm.
Correct, Mayor.
Okay, so I need a approval of an amended agenda, removing the Putnam presentation in closed session item number 3.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Proud, a second by Councilmember Espinoza. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Prout, yes, Espinoza,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes, very good. Let me write this in real quick. My apologies. Tonight we have a proclamation for our Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'm going to go ahead and step up to the front. Oh. I know the first person to say something. This is the proclamation for the Shafter Women's Club Domestic Violence Awareness Month for October 2023. Whereas domestic violence is a serious crime that affects people of all ages, races, gender, and income levels. And whereas 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner, and whereas 1 in 5 women and 1 in 12 men have experienced sexual violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime, and whereas 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year, and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to the violence, and whereas children that grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average, and whereas most domestic violence goes unreported, and whereas Shafter joins with others across the nation in supporting victims of domestic violence and share the goals of this month's observance, and likewise support the work that private and public agencies are doing to provide the best coordinated response to domestic violence in our communities. Now, therefore, I, Chad Givens, Mayor of the City of Shafter, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge our citizens to stand behind the strong message that there's no place for domestic violence in our community and it will not be tolerated. Passed and adopted today, October 17th. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is yours. Okay, I'm gonna walk over here.
Well, not a speech, but we just first, thank you first off. I'm speaking for the Shafter Women's Club, and I thank you, Mayor Gibbons and the City Council for this proclamation. October, as it said, is Domestic Violence Prevention and Awareness Month. So every year we take time to focus on the very real problem that affects our society. And it affects not only the victims, as your proclamation said, but the entire family. And that's, I mean, it's all bad, but that really is the part that really bothers me. Although it's just a proclamation written on a simple piece of paper, it is a message to our community that we acknowledge domestic violence and that it happens and that we will not tolerate it here. So I love that last line. It's a very strong, you read it well.
Thank you.
We all know our children are our future. Research shows children exposed to domestic violence are more likely to become victims and or abusers themselves,
Wow.
especially if it's not dealt with. It's not okay. And when you talk to victims, it's not normal. It's not a normal part of the relationship, and they need to hear that too. There are resources out there for victims, but in our rural area, for immediate action, it has to be through the police department. Locally, our police department responded to 109 calls last year for service involving domestic violence. And if you want to do the little statistic things, that's about 1 in every 3 days. Way too much. Yet, getting help is the hardest thing a victim will ever do. And that's why it usually goes unreported. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm thankful for the steps that our police department takes, such as Coffee with a Cop, that reaches out to our community to show them that they're the good guys and they can be trusted. In conjunction with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we also have adopted the White Ribbon Campaign, and that involves a pledge. On Friday, we were at Shafter High School, and we were overwhelmed by the tons of kids that came by our booth this year. It was just a different year and wanted to take the pledge. And you're familiar with the White Ribbon Pledge, and it says that I pledge never to stay silent, never to excuse, and never to commit sexual harassment, sexual assault, or domestic violence against others. Another kind of local twist to our pledge, it used to say against women. But 3 years ago at Shafter High School, we were challenged by a group of ladies that came up to our booth and said, it does not just happen to women. It also happens to men. And sometimes it's the women that's egging it on. So why are you excluding them? So we don't anymore. And we found that nationally, about the same time, the same thing was happening. So it's against others now and just not against women. So the White Ribbon Pledge, you've taken it, you're familiar with it, but I'd like you to renew it today if you're willing. So I need everybody at the stage, and I'm going to administer the White Ribbon Pledge once again. I was hoping that Gustavo would be here because he hasn't taken it yet.
No, he hasn't, but he.
Yeah.
I do understand his emergency.
And Michael, you're invited to join us. Gabe, Marco, people in the audience, David. Absolutely. It's a message if you don't.
I'll say okay. Yeah, I'm gonna record them. Yes, I write it. Okay.
I don't think so. Back here.
Well, okay, here. Okay, so ready? It starts
Speak
with,
up loud.
I pledge never
To excuse or stay silent about sexual harassment, sexual assault, or domestic violence against others.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
And I just want to thank you for posting it on your Facebook. It got a lot of attention for a lot of the local and the state women's clubs that they were kind of impressed with Shafter for what you guys did. So thank you.
You know, I'd like to ask a question or a comment. There is a little release that we saw at Women's Club that has this cartoon style
Mhm.
that even mentions children, and you didn't mention children. But, you know, maybe sometime you should bring that and show it.
Oh, the little video?
Yes.
We showed it during advisory, the announcements at Chapter High Friday. And
You
I
did
think
get
that
to?
kind of helped.
Yes.
It engaged them a little bit more. Yeah, yeah.
It's
a serious
really, it's nicely done. And yet it makes you think, yes, that isn't correct. That isn't right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And now we need to get the message out to the moms, you know,
Mhm.
the women in our community as well.
Oh, maybe we can get it on social media.
Maybe?
Yeah, someone will see it and
Probably
it'll
good
help
too.
them out.
Okay, well,
'Cause
thank
it's-
you.
yeah,
Thank
it's
you
nicely
guys
done.
again,
Thank
once
you.
again for this.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, we will be moving on to public comment time. Public comment time is those persons wishing to speak on any item included on the agenda or any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. We are invited to speak at the podium. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record before making your presentation. Public comment time is now open. Okay. Seeing none, do we have anything online? Very good. Public comment time is now closed. Council announcements and reports. Mr. Councilmember Espinoza, I'll start with you tonight.
On the third, attended the National coffee with the cop day at the Twin Cup in the morning. And it was nice to see a nice turnout there. On the sixth, I did attend the first Friday festival downtown chapter. It was nice to see everybody out enjoying themselves. On the 12th, I participated on a one-on-one interview with the branding consultant. And that was interesting to get a different perspective and to be asked some different questions about the city. And so I enjoyed that. And then on the 13th, I attended the oath of office for police officers Angel Rodriguez and Jesus Nanuza. So I'd like to welcome them onto the Shasta Police Force, and I wish them all the best of luck. That's all.
Very good. Councilmember Alvarado.
I just want to say that I also had the sorry, let me back up here. I also had the opportunity to go to a coffee with the cop. It was in the evening. It was at the police department, and we also had a little tour, so that was good. So that was exciting. Also, I just want to mention now that the Lions is on Thursday, October 26th. They're going to have their trunk or treat on Thursday this month, and also the Christmas parade is coming on December 1st. And so we hope everybody will come out and participate in the Christmas parade. And I just want to also mention that there's a lot of times that I'm not able to come to the swearing in of officers or new employees just because a lot of times it's during the day and I'm not able to get off at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning to come out. So I do apologize that I'm not able to be here when the new officers or new employees get sworn in. I did see that there was going to be a promotion ceremony coming up in, I think in December, but again, that's during the day. So maybe just something about food for thought, maybe try to do something like that, that big of a scale in the evenings. So that's all. Thank you.
I like that. Okay. Yeah, be something to think about. I like that. Mayor Pro Tem?
I didn't bring my supplemental materials, so I'll just kind of see what I can remember. We did have the street fair and it was fun to drive or ride around in the street or walk around the street and talk to the people that came out, whether they were exhibitors or whether they were just families that were there, or just to kind of exchange conversation. And I thought it was well received, and I think that's a thing that's worthy. Coffee for the cops. I went in the evening because I had a commitment in the morning, and it was good to be there. And we did have a few people that came in even after you left. We even had some ladies come in from Wasco, and they were really more concerned about having domestic violence and getting it into our schools. And so they learned that we already have a program going on here, and they didn't know that. They were only Spanish speaking, and yet they left knowing that our community was covered. And so that was a positive move. I did attend on Zoom AB 617, which really has come to the point where we're finally seeing the funds and getting ready to design and hope by the end of 2024 that we have all the curb gutters, sidewalk along 43 covering from Myers Laneway out there all the way into town. So a nice project, as well as some money that's going in out of the Mexican colony doing the same kind of a project. There is more money available, and so they're still working through all of that to see where the next step is going to be. They're asking now for interest in getting cars or ride along, which would be free to the privileged people in the community. Also, I went to Adam's Family Play at the Shafter High School. And I wish, the bottom area was almost full, and a lot of it was with students from the high school because their connection. But the play was outstanding. The actors, whether female or male, are outstanding. Their voices, their acting, their singing, you really, and message was really good with Adam's Family. I had never seen Adam's Family other than, when we saw just their fun times, but nice play, nice presentation, and I think they all need to do it.
They did great.
Yeah, and they'll be doing another play in the winter as well as in the spring, so if we can get the message out to everyone, maybe they'll fill up the auditorium. Well received. I believe that's all I have.
Excuse me. There's to follow up on, there's a lot going on. If you had a chance to be a part of the branding, we're excited you were a part of it. If you have not had a chance to get a part of it, I think there's a Facebook page that you can jump on. There's still a lot more that's happening with it, but again, I think the ultimate idea of the branding is it's not a color, it's not a logo, it's a story, and we really need to talk about what is Shafter's story. So more to come on that. There is a lot going on for the Halloween time.
Mhm.
I know Lions Club has the trunk or treat on the 26th. I believe Kenny and Courtyard is the 30th. 31st. Okay. Way off on my dates there. Don't you love it? Shafter Wasco game is on the 27th. I know they have, if you plan on going to that game, you should probably be there at the JV time.
Mhm.
Then there's going to be community events going on at the high school for that as well. There is the Harvest Festival with Kiwanis on the 31st at Manor Park, and I'm missing one on the 30th, and I can't remember who it is. There's one I'm missing.
Yeah, and Gossamer Grove's doing one on the 28th.
Gossamer's on the 28th, and there's another church doing one at Veterans Park. There's a lot. And correct. And then, so there's a lot going on the Harvest. If you kids want to, get cavities, there's definitely something going on for that. So come out, enjoy the time. And then the railroad celebration, it's at the depot this coming Saturday. I believe the event starts at 11, be there early.
Oh, that's right.
They're dedicating the newly renovated caboose. Do they call it cabooses?
Yes.
All right. They're doing that at 11 o'clock. So if you have never had the chance to go through there, I really, really urge you. Stan Wilson and the Historic Society, they have done such a phenomenal job of putting that together. And this is going to be a fun event. So please make your way out there. It'll be nice. Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and continue on tonight with our consent calendar. We have 7 items on consent calendar. I'll briefly read through these items. Number 1, approving general checks. 2, approving payroll. 3, approving the special event permit for Wings and Wheels show that is at Minter Field Air Museum on November 4th. Number 4, approving the special event permit, the trunk or treat for the Lions Club at Veterans Hall on October 26th. Number 5, approve a proposal submitted by Baker Tilly US LLP in the amount of $41,500 covering the design and development of a long-term financial model. Number 6, adopt the City of Shafter employee bi-weekly pay schedule effective September 16th, 2023. And lastly, number 7, ratify the execution by the city manager on behalf of the City of Shafter of a new lease agreement with Amazon.com Services LLC for the use of the 4.02 acre container yard. Questions, comments, concerns? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion of approval in a second, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Alvarado, a second by Councilmember Espinoza. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Prout,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes. Excuse me. Very good. Tonight on our management report items, we have one item. It is the removal of security fence at the Modified Community Correctional Facility. City Manager?
Sorry, Mayor and Council, as you know, we've been doing work out there ever since it's closed. Couple months ago, we had the auction to sell off all the equipment, anything that was still usable inside. This is work that's continuing to move forward, to move forward with clearing the area so that we can begin marketing and see what we're going to do with the facility. So this is just another step in that progress. I'll have our Public Works Director provide the staff report on what we're looking to do with the removal of the security fence, perimeter fence at the former MCCF. Mike.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, informal bids were requested and received to remove security fencing around the former MCCF site. The purpose of removing the security fence is to put the site in a better position to be used for other purposes. Highlights of the proposed work include taking down the 12-foot high chain link fence in the front, just off of East Ash, removing a majority of the barbed wire off all the chain link and the block walls. And then actually trimming 12-foot high chain link with privacy slats on the east side to 6 feet, so it could be used at other locations, notably drainage basins where chain link has a habit of getting stolen from time to time. We received 2 bids, the lowest of which was submitted by Lamont Fence Company for $48,265. This particular company has performed numerous projects for the city, and they're ready to start fairly soon. The suggested funding to cover their costs plus contingencies is $55,000, and staff plans to use existing operational funds to cover this amount. Shortfalls can be addressed, budget shortfalls can be addressed during mid-year budget cycle. So at this time, no budget action is required. It's important to stress that removing the security fence won't make the site ready for alternative uses, but it needs to be addressed at some point so we can at least consider different uses. So that's why tonight staff's recommending moving forward with the security fence removal and awarding it to Lamont Fence Company.
Very good. Any questions, comments, or concerns, council?
You said the extra fence may be used for other areas, maybe like a sump?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a motion, please.
I move we approve this project.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Proud, second by Councilmember Alvarado. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Prout,
Yes,
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Givens.
Yes. Very good. Those are all the items we have tonight on our management report. City Manager, I believe you have city manager comments.
Certainly, Mayor and Council, I sent you an update on some different topics of interest for you via email, so you should have that today. We do have one director report from our planning director on the revised housing element. I'll have him give a little bit of background, but we are updating our housing element. We submitted our first draft to HCD, Housing Community Development Department at the state, and they responded with their initial comments. And so this is an update to let you know what those comments consisted of and what some of the couple major policy changes would be for that. So with that, Steve.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council, my name is Steve Esselman. I'm your planning director. Yeah, and I'm here to talk about the revised public draft housing element update. As you know, earlier this year, we did a public draft after a number of outreach sessions, and we developed a public draft housing element update, which we then submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development for review. After a 90-day review, they provided us back a comment letter. Based on that, and we also had a one-on-one meeting with the reviewer of our housing element with HCD between myself and the consultants, which they then provided us additional feedback. And so I wanted to sort of give you a highlight of how those how that's been progressing. What I would like to say is that HCD has said that Shafter was actually the first in Kern County to provide them with a housing element update. So it doesn't seem like we're ahead of the curve, but we actually are. So we then decided or were required to prepare a revised housing element update, taking into consideration the comment letter that HCD provided. So to give you a little sense, yeah, our housing element is due January of 2024. And we are on track to be able to meet that deadline. We're hoping to bring forward a resolution for ultimate adoption and approval of the housing element in December. To let you know, yes, the public housing element, public draft was prepared and circulated. As I said, the Department of Housing and Community Development reviewed, provided a comment letter in August, and then we prepared a revised public draft. For the most part, the revisions were just the HCD asking for additional information additional discussion or clarification. So they were non-substantive revisions. A lot of it related to just wanting more information about local perspective on certain topics such as homelessness, how we're developing in the city, what are the development patterns, things of that nature. A little bit more census data kind of information. So nothing that was substantive, but just more background information that they requested. However, in going through the comment letter, there were two substantive revisions that we had to make to the housing element based on the letter and more in particularly our one-on-one discussion with HCD and the reviewer, who happens to be actually the lead reviewer of all housing element updates. So that was kind of a double-edged sword. One, you got a very thorough review, and if you get it past him, you don't have to get it past anyone else. But there were a lot of comments that we had to address. And in particular, the two significant revisions was HCD's requirement that we rezone 189.4 acres on sites that were identified in the sites inventory to 20 units per acre minimum density. To give you a sense, our R3 zone, which is our most dense zone, has a maximum per acre unit density of 24. So 20 units per acre is quite dense. And this is a requirement that HCD is making of us per state law. Additionally, they also wanted us to develop an incentive program to assist lower income housing development. So I'm going to go a little bit more into those two topics right now. First one is the rezoning. As I said before, they want us to rezone 189.4 acres from the site's inventory to at least a 20 unit per acre minimum density. This was with the assumption that 25% of that 189.4 acres would be units of lower income as defined in the housing element itself. Provided that we meet, we turn in a housing element on time by the deadline, we have 3 years to perform this rezone. That's necessary to meet state standards. If we do not get an approved housing element, or we were late and we don't meet the January 2024 deadline, we have 1 year to rezone. Right now, we are on track to meet the 3 year to rezone metric. And so I feel confident that we will have 3 years to do this. I don't have a sense of what areas at this point we need to rezone or where, but I will give you a sense of what our site's inventory looked like. If you notice the red, that was the site's inventory. So those 189 acres would have to be rezoned within those, somewhere in that area. And so within that 3 years, we're going to have additional discussions with the council and property owners about where we're going to rezone those additional 184 acres to 20 units per acre. Secondarily, the other substantive comment was the idea of an incentive program.
Steve, I got a question.
Sure.
You said 20 units per acre in this program. And where are we at right now? What do we do? How many units per acre are we right now?
Well, it really depends on the zone, but generally we're probably more in the realm of about 5 units per acre.
So we're going to go from 5 to
20 on 184 acres, not all of the acreage, but on 184, we would be required to rezone to 20 units per acre by state law. And so to move on to the incentive program, one of the other requirements that HCD said of us is that we need to develop an incentive program. By December of 2024, which is basically in a year, so it's a 1 year time frame instead of a 3 year. And essentially it would be developing some sort of a, by the zoning ordinance, some sort of a system that would facilitate land divisions, lot line adjustments, and specific plans for parcels that facilitate low income housing, basically to streamline those processes for developers that said that we will develop low income housing to basically put them at the front of the line. by our local municipal code. We would also be required to work with property owners and nonprofit developers to target and market sites. I'm not sure how that is going to work yet, but that is the requirement by our goals, our revised goals based on our conversations with HCD. And we would also have to offer incentives to develop affordable housing that can include, doesn't necessarily have to, but can include streamlined approvals, ministerial review of lot line adjustments, deferral or waiver of fees, technical assistance in acquiring funds. So basically staff helping low-income developers acquire funds, and the development requirement modifications for low-income housing. Again, we know we have to do this program. What the shape of this program is, I do not know at this time. It's going to require discussions with the council and the public to determine what is the shape of this incentive program going to look like. And so in the near future here, we'll all be starting to figure out when we can have those discussions so we can further discuss how to develop an incentive program that works for Shafter. And with that concludes my presentation on the two substantive revisions to the housing element update based on HCD's comments. And I'm open for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Does the housing element help the middle and higher income construction that's going to go on too, or is it just all based on lower income housing?
Well, I mean, our housing element accounts for all different income levels. And right now the way we process everything, we do it quite expeditiously for any income level. This is requiring that we do have some sort of incentivizing for lower income housing specifically.
Sprinkled in with the new development that'll be going on.
No, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that. That would be more like kind of an inclusionary zoning where like when you have a development, you would have to like set aside some of it for low income housing. But it's really going to be based on how we want to structure it, how we want to structure the incentive program. It's just saying that we have to create some sort of an incentive program. If people come in saying we're going to deed restrict, have low income housing, there needs to be some sort of incentive program in place. How robust that program is will be up to us to decide in compliance with state law.
Just a little bit of background, if I may, real quick, Councilmember Espinoza. The housing element is the main driver behind the housing element is the RHNA numbers, the regional housing number allocation, which dictates how many units of certain categories a city is supposed to build, from market rate, low income, affordable housing, affordable, low income, all the different numbers, and that's given to us by COG. And so the housing element is, from a policy stand, it says this is how we're going to accomplish it. Here we identify different sites, on and so forth, that we're going to make a good faith effort to meet those RHNA numbers. In the past, the city's made a good faith effort. HCD, Housing Community Development Department, the state, didn't really pay attention to a lot of that. But here in the last few years, with the state passing new legislation and giving the HCD a task force and budget from the governor, and they also have a working relationship with the AG, the Attorney General, they're using the housing element to force cities to do more of the low income housing and very low income housing, because that's the state's way of trying to address this homeless issues and making housing more affordable for some of those people that, according to the state, are homeless. And so that's kind of the difference between now and what we've done in the past with the housing element. And so we felt it was important because we're right now not circulating, but this is a public document right now. We have to notice for a certain number of days these proposed changes before we submit back to Sacramento. So we wanted to provide you an update that this is what these revisions are. This is what it entails. This is what the state has asked us that we do, because it's a public document and we don't want you to get caught blindsided if you got asked about, hey, what's this section here about incentive program or these 180 acres that you guys have to rezone. But that's what we wanted. It's just background information at this point. But the housing element, the main factor, or one of the major drivers behind that is the RENA numbers.
I have a question. How does this compare to the metropolitan areas that don't have extra land available to do this kind of program? Because it looks to me they're picking or looking at the valley, the Central Valley, that's of course definitely identified already as a disadvantage. And so you're going to saturate the Central Valley with all these special programs just for low income.
Well, I mean, these rules are in place across the board. Every city is going to have to.
Yes, but how are they going to do it in the other cities when they have no
Well, you know,
open
there's
space?
a little different. There, a lot of them would have to be sort of redevelopment, through densification, through.
So they will
Yeah.
have to show it in their housing element as such? Because-
Your minimum was 20 DUs per acre.
Yeah,
Theirs is like 40, 60, 80 DUs per acre.
it is already.
So
Yeah,
that's what HCD is gonna ask them.
Okay, that was my question then. Because, you know, in the past, it seemed like that they never really picked on other areas as much.
yeah, and then there are more rural areas, let's say like Farland or a Wasco, a smaller, that would be more like 16 dwelling units, and they're defined, and it's based on population density, things like that, where you fall into these certain different categories where you have to upzone to 16 dwelling units per acre, or we fall under 20. But yes, as the city
So-
attorney says, there's other ones that fall under even higher densities.
Okay, let me follow up with that then. Could they qualify because they're taking over motels, hotels, that kind of activity? Because they are using them for housing?
Well,
Like in those other jurisdictions, they have the same obligations we do, which is they have to identify areas of the city where they are likely to redevelopment, and they've got to show HCD why it's likely to redevelop. So they're not gonna just take your word for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to show a history of redevelopment of certain sites that are underutilized. And that's why cities are finding it more and more difficult to get certification of these housing elements, because just the bar has been set now so high.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, it adds to all the other frustrations we have going on in state, and that's what's concerning because, yeah, it's affecting so many people in so many ways. It's not fun.
Yeah, and just to give you a sense, we had a 7-day public review period here that's, I believe, closing today or tomorrow. And then we are going to resubmit
Mhm.
back to HCD our revised public draft housing element update, and they have 60 more days to review. And hopefully they will give us okay, you've answered our first comment letter, you're good to go. We can then bring it forward to you all to approve, because we have to provide back to them before the January deadline as a resolution stating that you have adopted the housing element update. So that's just to kind of give you a sense of you're going to be seeing this again coming in the next few months with hopefully a clean bill of health from HCD, no more further comment letter, and then we can button this up. But yes, I mean, there are going to be future discussions. The goals are sufficiently broad. We don't know exactly where we're going to do this, and we have an opportunity to talk about it in the next few years and really pinpoint where we would like this to happen, even if we're holding our noses. So this is not the last discussions we'll have, but
Yeah.
we are trying to get the actual housing element adopted so that we can move forward with the next stages.
So we don't have to
effectuate this.
rezone anything before they adopt the resolution or the housing element.
No.
Yeah.
We have, once the housing element is adopted,
Then we can
and
identify.
provided we are given an okay letter, no further comment letter from HCD, we have 3 years to figure out where and how we're gonna rezone 184 acres in that entire area that was shaded in red in that map, which is thousands of acres. So it's not that whole area. It's a portion of that area. And where that's going to be upzoned is something that we're going to have future discussions, not only with the council, but with property owners, because
Mhm.
ultimately it's their property. And do they want that or not?
I got one other question. Where is our most dense area of town and how many units do we have on an acre there?
I'd say our most dense, and maybe Dennis could help me as well. Dennis certainly knows the area better than I do, but I believe it's in the southern area of the core where we have a lot of the multifamily existing developments. South of Lerdo Highway, west of Santa Fe in that area. And I would guess that that's probably about 10 units per acre. You're gonna see 2 and 3 story product at 20
Yeah,
dwelling
it's
units
vertical.
per acre.
And then the infrastructure and everything that we have in place is gonna be enough to sustain that kind of
You have to.
density in one spot?
There's no consideration for that.
No,
But if it's low income, very low income, a lot of that's getting waived, like with ADUs, for example, that are not required to add additional parking or pay impact fees or any consideration for any of that. Affordable and low income housing is someone's going to become by right, that as long as it meets current zoning, it's consistent with their general plan. It doesn't require city approval. That we have 30 days to approve. If not, it's automatic. So Mayor Pro Tem, to your question about how in the urban areas, there's been legislation in the past that they can put housing on commercially zoned
Correct.
parcels and
Yeah.
and eliminate parking there where they don't have to require to have parking. ADUs, I think it was just this week, governor signed another new law that you can sell ADUs
Mhm.
to another party and it's considered theirs. And so the state just hasn't stopped and it's not going to. Those are, yeah. So this was just the information around those 2 items in particular, because as Steve said, we circulated the comments. And so we didn't want you to get caught blindsided as to what they were. So if you have no further questions, that's all we have.
In the future, something like this shouldn't come on to city manager comments. It should come to a management report. It would have been nice to have, if you're going to do a presentation, it would have been nice to have the presentation at least ahead of time and something that would be available to residents as well. Because that's a lot more information than just saying, we're giving you a quick update. That was nothing quick and there was a lot of information to the point that I think some of us are looking at that for the first time. So please mind in the future to keep that on management report and not on city manager comments.
Noted.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Nothing further.
Okay. With that, we'll be moving into recess. We have 2 items on closed session. Item number 1 is conference with legal counsel for an existing litigation pursuant to government code section 54956.9, section A. As well as item number 2, conference with legal counsel, possible initiation of litigation. Government code section 54956.9, section D for one potential case. With that, the 3rd item has been removed. I need a motion to recess.
I move we recess,
All right.
6:43.
I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Proud, second by Councilmember Espinoza. All those in favor with aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Hearing none. Moving into recess. Okay, welcome back. We're, excuse me, back from closed session, and I'm going to look to our city attorney to lead us out, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier tonight, City Council recessed in a closed session. All members were present except for Councilmember Olvera, who has an excused absence. There were 3 items listed on the agenda. However, only one was discussed. That was conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, the matter of the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration petitions of the cities of Alameda et al. Regarding the Williams-Sonoma sales tax matter. And in that matter, City Council heard an update regarding that case, and we have no reportable action. Thank you for your report.
Very good. With that, there's nothing else further on the agenda, and I'm going to look for a motion to dismiss.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Espinoza, a second by Councilmember Alvarado. All those in favor with aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Hearing none, we are dismissed at 7:02 PM.